Welcome back to another deep dive. We are so thrilled to have you here with us again.
Yeah, really glad you could join us.
Whether you are, prepping for a big meeting or maybe trying to catch up on the latest trends in nutrition or just insanely curious about the world around you, you are in exactly the right place.
Absolutely.
Today, we're going to do something a little bit different and honestly, a little bit intellectually dangerous.
That's a good way to put it. Very dangerous.
Right. I want to start by asking you a question, the listener, and I want you to be totally honest with yourself here. When you picture the ultimate, universally accepted, absolutely undeniable image of a healthy meal, what do you see in your mind's eye?
It's almost guaranteed to be green.
Exactly. I am willing to bet that almost all of you instantly pictured a giant, vibrant, leafy green salad,
Oh, yeah.
maybe some steamed broccoli on the side, a plate just piled high with vegetables.
Right, because it's a deeply ingrained modern assumption.
It really is. It is the bedrock of everything we are taught about health from the time we are, like, in preschool.
Yeah.
That eating a plate full of plants is universally and unconditionally the healthiest choice a human being can make.
The ultimate nutritional virtue.
Right. The ultimate virtue.
It absolutely is. I mean, from childhood, we are told to eat our greens. It is presented as this biological imperative that is completely beyond questioning. You see it in dietary guidelines, you see it in the marketing of health foods, you see it in the way we talk about, clean eating.
Clean eating, exactly.
But what if that foundational assumption is entirely wrong?
Wow.
What if the very things we associate with vitality and health are actually waging a microscopic war against our bodies?
And that is the exact premise we are unpacking today.
Yeah.
We're exploring a highly provocative, deeply fascinating perspective on human evolution and digestion.
Yeah, the overarching concept we are looking at is this idea of the plant's elegant revenge.
The plant's elegant revenge. I love that phrasing.
It's very dramatic, but it fits. It's the evolutionary reason why some biological frameworks suggest humans are actually designed to eat meat instead of vegetables.
It is a profound shift in perspective.
Yeah.
And to give you some context on who usually seeks out this specific evolutionary framework, it's often individuals who are struggling.
Yeah, people dealing with chronic inflammation or mysterious indigestion.
Right, autoimmune diseases, or those who have been, eating giant salads every day but still feel completely drained.
Exactly. It's also a foundational concept for people exploring carnivore or low-carb, high-fat diets.
The lchf community.
Right. These are folks who are searching for a biological rationale for why their supposedly healthy plant-based diets might be failing them.
So our goal today is to carefully unpack the specific biological, evolutionary, and anatomical arguments that support this viewpoint.
We are going to look at human digestion.
We're going to look at plant defense mechanisms.
And we're going to lay it all out for you, piece by piece.
To set the stage, we are going to be examining a perspective that views the entire food chain and your dinner plate, actually through the lens of biological warfare.
It completely flips the script on how we view the natural world.
It really does.
Instead of a harmonious garden where plants just, gladly offer themselves to us, we are looking at a billion-year-old arms race.
Now, before we jump into the wild world of biological warfare, I want to offer a very important reminder, because we have to.
Always a good idea.
Food and diet are incredibly polarizing topics. They can even get, frankly, politically charged with extremely strong opinions and deeply held beliefs on all sides.
Oh, absolutely. People tie their diets to their identities.
They do. So our job today is not to take a side. We are not doctors, and we are not telling you to completely abandon your broccoli tonight.
No, please don't do that based just on this.
Right. We are not endorsing these bold claims, nor are we condemning them. We are acting strictly as your impartial guides.
We are here to faithfully explore this specific evolutionary framework, to understand the mechanics of what it proposes and why, so you can be fully informed.
Sound good. Awesome. So let's start by looking at the evolutionary battlefield itself, the illusion of the passive plant.
A passive plant.
Right. When you watch a nature documentary, the rules of survival are pretty obvious, right? A predator appears on the savanna, and the prey animals have two choices.
Fight or flight.
Exactly. A gazelle sprints away at top speed.
Mm-hmm.
Or a buffalo turns, lowers its horns, and fights tooth and nail for its life.
It is the basic ruthless law of nature. Every organism is fundamentally driven by the imperative to survive and pass on its genetic material.
Yes.
But this presents a really fascinating evolutionary puzzle when you look at the botanical world.
How so?
Well, how have plants survived for hundreds of millions of years without going extinct?
Right, because plants are physically rooted to the ground.
Exactly. They cannot sprint away from a hungry herbivore. They do not have claws or teeth to fight back.
So how are they still here?
That's the question. Why weren't they just eaten into oblivion by insects and dinosaurs and early mammals millions of years ago?
Did they just sit there generously offering themselves up as an all-you-can-eat buffet for the entire animal kingdom?
According to this framework, no. The idea of the peaceful plant is a complete biological myth.
A myth.
Plants are not generous entities just waiting to be harvested. They are, in fact, incredibly toxic and profoundly clever.
Because they can't physically flee or fight?
Right. They had to evolve an entirely different mechanism for survival. They became absolute masters of chemical warfare.
Chemical warfare.
To protect themselves and their offspring, plants synthesize incredibly complex chemical weapons.
And these weapons are explicitly designed to sicken, to cause severe pain, to disrupt digestion, or even to completely halt the reproductive cycles of the predators that dare to consume them.
They are biologically programmed to make eating them a terrible idea.
I want to paint a visual for you because this completely changes how you look at food. Imagine looking at a beautifully composed, fresh, green, delicious-looking salad.
Sounds great.
It does. But instead of seeing a bowl of health, imagine a red, glowing skull and crossbones warning mark flashing right over those leafy greens.
That is a stark contrast.
It really is. We normally view a salad as completely benign, but from an evolutionary standpoint, we shouldn't view plants as defenseless bystanders.
No, we should picture them as stationary fortresses, completely rigged with invisible biological booby traps.
Stationary fortresses. That's good.
They want to survive just as much as that gazelle does. They just use invisible chemical weapons to do it.
And the sheer energy plants expend to create these chemicals is staggering, isn't it?
Oh, it's massive. A plant will divert a massive amount of its metabolic resources away from growth and reproduction just to synthesize these defensive compounds.
Is to make the weapons.
Exactly. That alone tells you how critical this chemical armor is. If a plant didn't invest in these toxins, it wouldn't last a single evolutionary cycle. It would be devoured.
So the plants that survived to propagate were the ones that became the most toxic to their predators.
Precisely. Survival of the most toxic.
Okay, I have to push back a little here because my brain immediately goes to the obvious contradiction.
Sure.
If plants are these heavily armed chemical fortresses, loaded with toxins, designed to hurt whatever eats them, how does anything in nature actually eat them?
That is the million-dollar question.
I mean, I drive past fields of cows eating grass all day, deer eat leaves, caterpillars eat milkweed. If plants are so toxic, how do these animals survive the chemical warfare?
That is the perfect question, and it brings us to the absolute marvel of digestive anatomy.
Anatomy.
Because this evolutionary perspective relies heavily on anatomical data. Anatomy doesn't lie.
Right. It tells you what a machine is built for.
It tells the story of exactly what an organism is built to do. And when you draw a sharp, specific contrast between the digestive systems of classic herbivores, like those cows and sheep, and the digestive system of humans, the differences are staggering.
It essentially comes down to biological real estate and stomach count.
Exactly. Let's talk about the cow, a classic herbivore.
Herbivores possess 4 giant stomachs. Humans, as you know, have exactly 1.
Just the one.
But it is not just about the number of stomachs. It is about what is actually happening inside that biological machinery.
Let's really look at the cow's stomach system, specifically the rumen.
The rumen is the first chamber, right?
Yes, the massive first chamber. It's helpful to think of a cow not just as an animal, but as a walking, breathing, highly industrialized plant detox factory.
A plant detox factory.
The process of rumination is incredibly exhaustive. A cow spends its entire day tearing up tough, fibrous grass, swallowing it down into that massive rumen, and then later regurgitating it back into its mouth to chew it again.
Over and over and
Look
over.
for the cud.
It sounds exhausting. They spend something like 8 hours a day just chewing.
They really do.
But why is that tedious process an absolute necessity? Why can't they just chew it once and be done with it?
Because of those biological booby traps we talked about. That first stomach, the rumen, isn't just a holding pouch. It is a massive, highly active fermentation tank.
A fermentation tank.
It houses billions and billions of specialized bacteria, protozoa, and microbes.
So when the cow swallows the grass, it's essentially feeding that microbiome.
Exactly. The cow needs this intense mechanical grinding, the endless chewing, combined with this massive microbial vat to break down the extremely tough cellulose in the plant fiber.
But crucially, this microbial army is what neutralizes the plant's chemical toxins.
Yes. The cow's body is custom built over millions of years of evolution to wage a daily, relentless war against plant defenses.
It relies on billions of microbial allies to do the heavy lifting of detoxification.
So a cow is basically a four-chambered, biologically advanced hazmat unit.
A hazmat unit. That is such a vivid way to describe it. It is designed from the ground up to disarm plant toxins.
It absolutely is.
Now let's pivot to humans, because here's where the story gets really fascinating.
It really does.
We have just one stomach. But it's not just a lonely basic stomach. It is a highly specialized extreme environment.
Very extreme.
Human stomach acid is incredibly potent. We are talking about a highly acidic pH level of around 1.5.
And we need to pause and understand what a pH of 1.5 actually means, because the pH scale is logarithmic.
Right, it's not a linear scale.
Exactly. A pH of 1.5 is remarkably, almost dangerously acidic. It is millions of times more acidic than water.
Millions of times.
To put that into an evolutionary perspective, our stomach acid is directly comparable to the stomachs of apex predators and scavengers.
Apex predators.
Think about eagles, hyenas, and wolves. Organisms that eat raw meat, sometimes rotting meat, and bone.
That is intense.
Human stomach acid is strong enough to dissolve bone and neutralize the immense bacterial loads found in decaying animal tissue.
Wait, really? We had the stomach acid of a wolf or a scavenger.
We do.
That is wild to think about. It completely shatters the image of humans as these delicate gatherers just picking berries in the forest.
It really challenges that pastoral image.
Why would we need acid strong enough to dissolve rotting meat if we were supposed to be eating kale?
Exactly the point. That extreme acidity is a very specific evolutionary adaptation. It serves as a biological filter, a wall of acid that protects us from pathogens in meat.
And the anatomical comparisons don't stop at the stomach.
No, they don't. When you look at the lower digestive tract, the differences are just as stark.
Let's look at a true herbivore, or even a primate like a gorilla that eats a massive amount of vegetation.
In those animals, you find a very long, very voluminous large intestine and a huge cecum.
The cecum being a pouch at the beginning of the large intestine.
Right. That is the anatomical space required for the prolonged fermentation of plant matter. You need physical space to let the microbes break down the fiber.
But in humans, our anatomy tells a totally different story.
It really does.
Our large intestine and cecum are dramatically shorter than those of herbivores and other primates.
We simply do not have the physical real estate required for massive, prolonged plant fermentation.
Our small intestine, which is where we absorb nutrients from easily digestible foods like proteins and fats, is very long. But the fermentation tanks are tiny.
So when you look at the whole picture, the lack of multiple stomachs, the extreme scavenger-like acidity, and the dramatically shortened fermentation tract, this framework points to a very clear conclusion.
Our physical equipment strongly suggests that humans are completely unequipped to safely process and detoxify tough plant fibers and defensive chemicals all day long.
We simply lack the biological hazmat suit that a cow possesses.
So we are forced to ask, what does this mean for our evolutionary identity?
The argument here is that humans are distinctly designed as predators.
Predators.
We are biologically meant to consume fast-digesting, high-nutrient density foods.
Our bodies are built to drop a highly concentrated fuel like meat and fat into a vat of powerful acid, break it down instantly, extract the nutrients quickly in the small intestine, and move the waste out.
Fast and efficient.
We are not built to slowly ferment toxic leaves over several days.
It's an energy game. We traded the massive, energy-intensive digestive tracts of herbivores for smaller, sleeker digestive systems that require highly bioavailable fuel.
It is a fascinating way to look at our own bodies. But it leads us to an inevitable, highly practical question.
What's that?
What happens when an organism with the stomach of a wolf tries to eat the diet of a cow?
Yes.
If we don't have the four stomachs or the giant fermentation vats to neutralize those plant toxins, what do those toxins actually do to us when we eat them?
That is where we have to dive into the specific biological traps. we need to look at what are known as anti-nutrients.
Antinutrients.
These are the specific invisible chemical weapons we mentioned earlier. And there are 3 particular toxins that this evolutionary framework focuses on heavily.
Let's name them.
Lectins, phytic acid, and oxalates.
Lectins, phytic acid, and oxalates.
Lectins, phytic acid, and oxalates. If you've spent any time deep in the weeds of nutrition forums or listened to alternative health deep dives, you have definitely heard these names thrown around.
They are very popular buzzwords right now.
But let's actually explain what they are, because they aren't just random byproducts. They have a very specific, targeted biological purpose for the plant. They absolutely do. These anti-nutrients are highly concentrated in the most vulnerable and most important parts of the plant.
The seeds, the roots, the leaves, and the peels.
Right. Why are they concentrated there?
Because these chemicals are a defense mechanism designed specifically to protect the plant's offspring and its vital structures.
A seed is the literal future of the plant's genetic line.
A plant cannot afford for a bird or a bug or a human to eat all its seeds, digest them completely, and destroy that genetic material.
So the plant loads the seed up with these chemicals, which act as natural pesticides and digestive inhibitors.
In the wild, these toxins are meant to kill or severely deter the insects, fungi, and mammals that try to attack the plant.
Okay, so they deter bugs. They might make a bird pass the seed completely whole without digesting it.
Exactly.
But what happens to humans? When I eat a giant bowl of quinoa or a massive spinach salad, I don't drop dead like a bug might. So what is the argument here? This framework argues that when humans consume these anti-nutrients, because we don't have a four-stomach detox system to protect us, these plant particles actually go on the offensive inside our bodies.
They attack the human body in a couple of very specific, very insidious ways.
They do.
Let's unpack the first one, which is arguably the most famous. Leaky gut syndrome, driven largely by lectins.
Lectins are fascinating.
What exactly is a lectin doing inside my single stomach?
Well, lectins are a type of protein found in many plants, but they are incredibly high in legumes, grains, and nightshades.
Tomatoes, eggplants, that sort of thing.
Right. They have a very unique chemical property. They are sticky.
Sticky.
Yes, they specifically bind to carbohydrates. Now, the lining of your intestinal tract is covered in complex carbohydrate.
Right.
When lectins travel through your digestive tract, they resist being broken down by stomach acid. They survive the journey.
They survive the pH 1.5 acid vat.
They were built to survive it. And when they reach your intestines, they bind to the cells lining your gut.
You just stick to the walls.
Worse than that, think of the lining of your gut like a very fine cheesecloth.
The cheesecloth, okay?
It's designed to only let microscopic, fully digested nutrients pass through into your bloodstream while keeping larger particles, bacteria, and waste safely inside the digestive tube.
Makes sense.
The cells of your gut lining are held together by what are called tight junctions. Lectins act almost like chemical crowbars.
Chemical crowbars.
They pry open those tight junctions. They essentially punch microscopic holes in the intestinal wall.
Microscopic holes in your intestines. That is a terrifying image. That definitely does not sound like a peaceful, healthy experience.
It's not. Once those holes are created, this is what is referred to as intestinal permeability, or leaky gut things start passing into your bloodstream that have absolutely no business being there.
Like what?
Undigested food particles, bacterial toxins, and the lectins themselves slip through the barrier.
And I imagine the immune system does not like that one bit.
Exactly. Your immune system recognizes these particles as hostile foreign invaders. It launches an immediate attack.
And if you are eating these plant toxins at every single meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, your immune system is constantly on high alert, constantly fighting.
This sparks chronic systemic inflammation throughout the entire body. Your immune system is essentially working overtime to clean up the mess spilling out of your compromised gut.
Okay, so that is the lectin attack, physically prying open the gut lining. Now let's look at the second major line of attack this framework outlines, which involves phytic acid and oxalates.
The concept of mineral blocking.
This one blows my mind because it completely contradicts how we read nutrition labels.
It really does. Let's look at phytic acid, which is primarily found in the hulls of nuts, seeds, and grains.
Okay.
Phytic acid is essentially the plant's storage form of phosphorus. But here is the critical biological insight. Humans lack the enzyme phytase needed to break down phytic acid.
Phytase, we just don't produce it.
We cannot digest it.
Okay, so we can't digest it, it just passes through us, right? No harm, no foul.
If only it were that simple. As phytic acid moves through your digestive tract, It acts like a chemical magnet.
A magnet.
It has a strong negative charge. It actively seeks out positively charged minerals that you have ingested, specifically essential minerals like iron, zinc, magnesium, and calcium.
Oh, wow.
The phytic acid chemically binds to these minerals, creating an insoluble complex, a salt that your body absolutely cannot absorb.
It essentially locks the minerals in a chemical vault and escorts them right out of your body.
That's a great way to picture it. It steals your minerals.
I want to really emphasize this because it is such a frustrating paradox for so many people.
Yeah.
Let's connect this right back to your everyday life.
Yes, the practical application.
You might look at a bag of raw spinach or a bowl of steel-cut oats, and you read the nutrition label, and it says it has tons of iron and magnesium.
And you think you're doing great.
You eat it, thinking you are doing your body a massive favor. But this framework provides the explanation for why someone might eat mountains of dark leafy greens, seeds, and vegetables, trying to be as healthy as possible, and yet still suffer from severe anemia or chronic nutritional deficiencies.
Exactly. The iron is technically in the spinach, but the antinutrients, the phytic acid and the oxalates, are chemically locking it away so you can't actually use it.
It is a biological mirage.
A mirage. Oxalates, which are incredibly high in things like spinach, almonds, and dark chocolate, do something very similar with calcium.
They bind to the calcium.
They bind to calcium and form tiny, jagged crystals. If those crystals accumulate, they can form kidney stones, or they can lodge in joints and cause severe pain.
So you are eating the food, but you are starving on a cellular level because the plant's defense system is actively blocking your absorption.
You're eating but not absorbing.
This leads to what is arguably the boldest, most sweeping claim in this entire evolutionary framework. This perspective connects this daily chemical bombardment to a massive host of modern, often completely unexplained ailments.
It attempts to provide a unified theory for chronic disease.
A unified theory.
The argument suggests that conditions like chronic fatigue, rheumatoid arthritis, mysterious skin troubles like eczema or psoriasis, irritable bowel syndrome, and a wide array of autoimmune diseases might not just be bad luck or entirely genetic.
Right. It posits that these ailments might actually be the direct, unavoidable biological price humans are paying for a massive dietary mismatch.
A price exacted for bombarding a completely defenseless, highly acidic single-stomach digestive tract with complex plant toxins every single day.
If you don't have the hazmat suit and you walk into a chemical zone 3 times a day, you're going to get burned by the chemicals.
Your gut gets porous, your immune system attacks itself, and your minerals are depleted.
It is a radical reframing of chronic illness. It attributes these modern epidemics directly to a mismatch between our evolutionary digestive anatomy and a plant-heavy modern diet that we are told is optimal.
It really makes you rethink the standard advice.
But wait, I have to play devil's advocate again.
Go for it.
Because if foraging for plants is so biologically dangerous for humans, and eating them causes all this internal damage and mineral depletion, how did we survive as a species?
Good question.
Moreover, why didn't our ancient ancestors just eat the easiest things available? Why didn't they just forage for sweet fruits and tubers and call it a day?
Right.
Why did they risk life and limb hunting giant beasts?
Right.
I mean, humans have been eating grain since the agricultural revolution roughly 10,000 years ago, right?
That is true, but 10,000 years is an absolute blink of an eye in evolutionary time.
A blink of an eye.
Our digestive anatomy was forged over millions of years of hominid evolution prior to the invention of farming. To understand the drive to hunt, we have to look at the massive energetic demands of becoming human.
We have to set a very specific ancestral scene.
Yes. We are talking about the Pleistocene epoch. Homo sapiens and our immediate ancestors actively hunting massive, incredibly dangerous megafauna.
Megafauna. We're talking about facing down woolly mammoths, giant bison and mastodons, with nothing but sharpened sticks and coordinated tactics.
It's wild to imagine.
I always try to pause and really think about what that actually means. Hunting a mammoth with a spear is not a weekend hobby.
No, it is terrifying.
It required massive energy expenditure. It carried an incredibly high risk of catastrophic injury, shattered bones, getting gored, or frankly, just being crushed to death.
The mortality rate for hunters was incredibly high.
If plants were everywhere, why bypass a stationary bush full of leaves that won't fight back to risk your actual life against a terrified, multi-ton, prehistoric beast.
It comes down to the ultimate nutritional payoff.
The payoff.
The evolutionary reward had to vastly outweigh the immense risk, and that reward was meat and animal fat.
And the way this framework explains this is truly fascinating.
We established that early humans didn't have the biological equipment, the massive fermentation vats, to detoxify plants efficiently.
So what did our ancestors do?
They executed one of the most brilliant evolutionary workarounds in history.
This is my favorite part. Humans essentially outsourced the dangerous, exhausting job of plant detoxification to the herbivores.
Outsource.
I absolutely love that framing. It is biological delegation. We hired contractors to do the dirty work.
Precisely. Think about the mammoth or the bison. That animal spends its entire life grazing, chewing tough, fibrous, toxic grasses.
It's chewing all day.
It uses its massive, multi-chambered fermentation tanks to filter out all the lectins, the phytic acid, the oxalates. The herbivore does all the hard labor of dealing with the plant's chemical warfare.
And in doing so, the herbivore converts that toxic, low-density plant matter into something entirely different. Safe, high-quality protein, and highly dense animal fat.
So all humans have to do is hunt the herbivore to safely acquire those nutrients.
We let the mammoths eat the toxic plants, filter them, neutralize the chemical weapons, and turn them into a pristine nutrient source. Then, we eat the mammoth.
This perspective refers to meat as a premium nutritional capsule.
A premium nutritional capsule.
It is pre-filtered. It is totally devoid of plant toxins, and it is packed with an incredible density of energy and building blocks.
It operates almost like a biohacked nutritional supplement. When you actually look at the nutritional profile of ruminant meat picture, a thick, juicy steak sizzling over a campfire, it is not just about the raw calories.
No, it is about the specific bioavailable nutritional profile.
This framework emphasizes that meat provides perfect, complete amino acids and animal fats that are a 100% match for building and repairing the human body.
There is no complex conversion process needed in the liver. It is the exact building blocks we require in the exact ratios we need them.
And beyond just the macros, the bioavailability of the micronutrients is where this argument really shines.
Meat provides the immediate absorption of vital nutrients that are entirely absent or incredibly difficult to extract from the plant kingdom.
Let's look at vitamin B12.
B12 is crucial. It is absolutely essential for neurological function and DNA synthesis. You cannot get bioavailable B12 from plants.
You just can't.
You must get it from animal sources. Or let's look at iron again. We talked about how phytic acid blocks iron in spinach.
But the iron in meat is heme iron.
Right, and heme iron is fundamentally different, isn't it?
It is. Heme iron is bound within a porphyrin ring.
A porphyrin ring.
It is the exact form of iron found in blood and muscle. Because it is already in this biological wrapper, the human gut has specific receptors that absorb heme iron directly and efficiently.
Completely unaffected by anti-nutrients even if you ate them at the same time.
The same goes for omega-3 fatty acids.
Plants provide ALA, which the human body is terribly inefficient at converting.
Animal fats, particularly from ruminants and seafood, provide DHA and EPA, the preformed, ready-to-use fatty acid that literally build the human brain.
And that brain connection is huge because the brain is an energy hog, right?
Exactly. There is a well-known evolutionary theory called the expensive tissue hypothesis.
The expensive tissue hypothesis.
It suggests that to grow our massive, highly complex human brains, we had to shrink another metabolically expensive tissue.
Yeah.
Our digestive tract.
We traded the giant, energy-draining herbivore gut for a smaller gut and a massive brain.
But to fuel that brain with a smaller gut, we absolutely required a highly concentrated, pre-filtered, incredibly dense source of energy and fat.
We required meat.
So this perspective is basically saying meat is the ultimate biological cheat code. We let the herbivores fight the grueling chemical war, and we swoop in and reap all the reward.
It's evolutionary logic, yes.
So considering all of this, the chemical weapons, the stomach acid of a scavenger, the outsourced digestion, and the ultimate nutritional capsule, this evolutionary perspective forces a massive, uncomfortable reevaluation of how society currently views the dinner plate.
Which takes us into the final piece of this puzzle, the clash with the modern diet paradigm.
Let's get into it.
The arguments we've been discussing don't just stay in the realm of paleontology or biological history. They bring the argument right into the present day, and they offer a very sharp, very pointed critique of modern dietary culture.
A very sharp critique.
This framework suggests that society has essentially been subjected to massive cognitive dissonance or even brainwashed.
Brainwashed by decades of epidemiological studies, marketing, and dietary guidelines.
Right. Brainwashed into viewing vegetarianism, veganism, and plant-heavy diets as morally superior and universally healthy.
While simultaneously, meat eating, especially the consumption of saturated animal fat, has been portrayed as somehow barbaric, dangerous, or the root cause of heart disease.
It is a massive cultural shift to even entertain this alternative idea.
I remember doing a raw vegan cleanse for a month a few years ago.
Oh, wow. How was that?
I was eating massive bowls of raw kale, drinking green juices, thinking I was giving my body the ultimate health boost.
Yeah.
But honestly, my stomach was in absolute agony.
I'm not surprised given what we've discussed.
I was bloated, I was exhausted, my joints ached. I just told myself, oh, my body's just detoxing. It's pushing out the bad stuff.
That's the common narrative.
But looking at it through this biological warfare argument, my body wasn't detoxing. My body was basically treating that massive influx of raw kale like a hostile chemical invader.
You were flooding a single stomach acid vat with oxalates and lectins.
And that experience I had is exactly what drives people to this framework.
The expert synthesis of this perspective is that biology and evolutionary history tell a completely different story than the current dietary guidelines.
To summarize the core evolutionary argument, plants are not generous.
They are deeply protective of their own survival, and they are loaded with toxic chemical weapons designed to deter predators.
And humans simply never evolved the massive digestive armor, the four stomachs, the microbial vats, to withstand a daily, relentless barrage of those toxins.
So the call to action for someone who prescribes to this view is very clear. It speaks directly to those who are suffering.
It suggests that if you are constantly dealing with painful gas, aching joints, unexplained belly fat, brain fog, or chronic autoimmune issues, you might need to look to our base evolutionary instincts.
The advice is to stop the chemical attack. Step away from the massive salads, stop forcing raw vegetables into your system, and fully embrace a diet centered on what we were allegedly designed to eat, meat and animal fat.
According to this framework, a meat-based, animal fat-centric diet isn't a modern fad. It is the precise, perfect biological fuel that actually allowed the human brain to expand and evolve our bodies into what they are today over millions of years.
It is the fuel our anatomical engine was designed for.
It is a sweeping, comprehensive, and highly controversial argument that attempts to completely invert conventional nutritional wisdom using anatomical and evolutionary logic.
It is. And as we promised at the beginning of this deep dive, we strongly encourage you to use this information to think critically.
How does this evolutionary framework contrast with other nutritional philosophies you might have heard?
How does understanding the concept of chemical warfare change the way you read a nutrition label on a box of processed grains?
If nothing else, the value of exploring a perspective like this is that it forces us to question our deepest, most comfortable assumptions.
That is so true. We are not telling you to go throw out all your spinach tonight, but we are offering you a new lens through which to view your biology.
Okay, let's briefly recap this incredible journey.
We started by shattering the myth of the peaceful plant, uncovering the invisible, high-stakes chemical warfare of lectins, phytic acid, and oxalates.
We looked at the incredible 247 detoxifying power of a cow's four stomachs and compared it to the highly acidic, scavenger-like reality of the human gut.
Finally, we explored the concept of meat not as a danger, but as a pre-filtered premium nutrient capsule, perfectly adapted to fuel the human machine without the toxic baggage.
It fundamentally reframes the relationship between human beings, our evolutionary history, and the natural world around us.
It really does.
And as we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Something to explore on your own that builds on what we've discussed today.
A provocative thought.
If our digestive systems are truly ancient evolutionary time capsules, perfectly adapted to a specific high-risk Paleolithic environment, how many other modern ailments beyond just digestion are simply the result of putting the wrong biological fuel into an engine designed for a completely different world?
Between our highly processed foods, our artificial lights, our chronically stressed but physically sedentary lifestyles.
Are we constantly fighting our own biology not just at the dinner table, but in every single aspect of our modern lives?
It is a profound question. Understanding our evolutionary past might be the ultimate key to unlocking our health in the future.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning those ingrained assumptions, keep learning everything you can, and perhaps most importantly, pay close attention to what your own biological equipment is telling you. We will see you next time.